easy.
Thank you, William, because that is so true in my eyes. I really think that it goes back to earlier when Thinbad said, he said something along the lines of, I don't think that they think it's okay. I agree with that. I really don't think that they think it's okay. I think that people who have always had these views now see the opportunity to express them without the same backlash that they would have faced previously, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's, people, when you talk about, what we had just come from, where we had come from 8 years of someone trying to bring people together, trying to show hope, trying to level the playing field, as it were, to people who already were on the high side of what was an unlevel playing field. When you try to level it out, when you try to empower folks, when you try to give to people who are privileged, equality feels like and looks like oppression to them, and it's crazy because they feel like something's being taken away, like they're losing something, when they don't recognize that they've been the playing field's been unlevel all along. They've been getting privilege all along, and when that's called out, they don't recognize. They don't see it as anything but you're taking something from me. Not ever understanding that the more people who are working, the better the better the economy does. The more people pouring into the economy, the more people paying taxes, the more people buying goods, the better it is for everybody. The rising tide lifts all boats, but they don't see it that way. It's just, it's crazy.
And I think that most people would accept that everyone's not going to be a bazillionaire. That's just not the way it is. I mean, in any community.
I'd like to be myself.
Yeah, I'd love to be. I would love to be. But you would at least hope, and I think it's reasonable, though, to at least say that, well, at least make the opportunity to do better available. You know what I mean? Don't give it to me,
right,
but just at least make it so that, if I go to school and I do the right things in school, I decide to pursue a VOTEC career or the service, or, I want to teach, be a lawyer, whatever. Just make it so that the opportunities are there, so that,
like James Brown said, I don't want nobody to give me nothing.
Right,
Open
right.
the door
So
and I get it myself.
Exactly. So if you choose not to take advantage of going to school and being successful, or and of course you have to define what is success, and success doesn't always mean you're having a big wallet, but what is it that will allow people to at least have the opportunity to pursue the American dream, if you will. And I think that's where the frustration is for folks, because they're saying, okay, let's look at the justice side of the house. Now, everyone went crazy when they saw the sentence, or lack thereof, that Manafort received. Here's a guy that, did all kinds of things, lied on applications, bank fraud, tax fraud, you name it. And he got 4 years one place and 3.5 years something else, somewhere else. And yet you have folks who have, and not condoning this, but, they've been engaged in food stamp fraud. I lied on my application and got 2 months worth of food stamps, and now I'm doing 10 years in jail.
Facts.
You know what I mean? So, I mean, even when people look at that kind of stuff, that just makes people say, wow, what in the world is going on here that, that this guy is getting such a break and I can't catch a break.
Right.
That's a problem. That's a real problem.
Big facts.
Right.
I agree.
So I just think that, when people are talking about, well, we got all these programs and so forth and so on, but if you look historically at where certain communities are, when you started off behind the 8 ball, and this is a fact, when you had systemic efforts to keep you from buying houses in certain neighborhoods, or you had to go way across town to a school that didn't have heat and air conditioning and so forth. You're part of the same school system in the same city, so those types of things, they were just wrong. And so therefore you have some people that are decades behind, not because they want to be, but because they're still catching up because of conditions, some of which were beyond their control. So I think, we just, there just needs to be a reckoning of the minds. And I know this is pie in the sky, but I think that, the perception is, we're going to do everything that we can to make sure that certain groups of folks will never have the opportunity to do better. And I'm not just talking about African Americans, as Ambezi said, you have poor whites, Indians, Asians, all kinds of folks who are in situations where I just need the opportunity. Don't give it to me, but just allow me to at least have the opportunity to
make
do
it
better.
Attainable.
Right.
Like, the more we get into this subject, the more I just want to go on a rant like last week, but I won't.
Oh, go on. Just go on.
But I won't.
Well, before you rant, though, I have to bring this. I have to bring this one up because this is one that is hot. And thanks, William, for your comment.
Yes.
Thin Bad. What do you think about reparations?
Ooh, cha. When do I get my 40 acres and my mule?
William is lighting it up tonight.
Right.
So what do you think, Thin Bad? And then we're going to hear from you, Ambezi.
Shoot, you need to pay me.
That's right. Everybody else got it, right? The Japanese got it. Everything else that we did got it. But here's the question. This is where you'll have the problem. Is trying to figure out what should be. What should that look like?
They waited.
Go
ahead.
Go ahead.
No. I want to let you finish first. Sorry.
Like,
she's all wound up now.
Yeah, the people. That's okay. We're like, yeah, she is. I'm the hold it down.
That's right.
But it'll be, what does that look like? And could you get all the, there was a time when was someone was talking about that today. A black agenda, so to speak. There was a time back in the day when we all lived in the same place. The police chief lived next to the judge.
Yep.
There wasn't. Wait a minute. There weren't any police chiefs. There weren't any black police chiefs back then. But you had the judge that next to the preacher that lived next to the school teacher. That everybody lived in the black community, and
sounds like Ashburn.
So it was easy to see what we couldn't do, what we didn't have, what we couldn't do, where we couldn't go. That was clear. But now all of those things are kind of removed. Still not to everybody, because now it's an economic thing more so than a racial thing. So when you're trying to figure out, well, how all the black folks benefit from reparations, and so then the question becomes, what does that look like? Because you'd have one segment of the community that would be like, man, just give me a check, cut me a check, and they'd be broke tomorrow.
Facts.
How big a check should that be? And then you have another group that'd be like, how about we just don't have to pay taxes for the rest of our lives? And some people say, well, I ain't paying taxes, no way. That ain't helping me. So I'm not getting nothing from that. Then you got other people that would be like, well, how about you give us free education?
Facts. And then they go start talking about now they taking our spots.
Right. Right. And in light of what we just had with this crazy college, a mess.
Right.
So the question, we spend so much time wrangling around, what do reparations look like? Now, the question isn't, do I think it should? I think there's something that ought to be done. I mean, you help build the country. Why not? But
Well,
you help build the country that everyone's benefiting.
You know, at this point, the problem is that they waited too daggone long to have this conversation. Because I agree. Back in the day, it was easy to kind of, even if, okay, let's be real. Even if we were in line to have reparations given to us, it is so much harder now to track who in America has actually been affected by slavery. We are so mixed up. There are so many more people. So it's like, all right, we're going to give families money for reparations, right? Now we have to go, all right, now who's daddy? Raise your hand if your daddy thinks that your great granddaddy was a slave. Please, everybody raise your hand. All right. Like, I'm curious. What does that look like?
Well, I have
because for me, it's like, all right, if you really want to do something, I would be good if they would just, I don't know, go into the inner cities and start donating some money to the schools. If you really want to thank us, or not thank us, but if you really want to, quote unquote, pay us back, start going into these rundown, used to be black cities like Baltimore and stuff like that, and give more black people loans to start businesses. Let us start making some money. Like, you don't need to hand me a check, but help our people out. Help us do the things that we could do back in the day. It's just like Thinbad said. I remember my grandparents grew up in not grew up, but they lived in Baltimore, and it was exactly like that. They were teachers. They lived next door to teachers and doctors, and everybody was in the community. And I'm not saying that we need, exclusively black communities and blah, 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 blah. Like, I'm not even going to, please don't assassinate me. I'm a very diverse and forward-thinking person, but I just think that the best way to help us right now is to see areas where we can get more scholarships. We can start businesses. We can, give us an equal chance. Give us an equal chance in the world. I have worked with people who barely have a high school diploma, who, when I was working retail, they would be in these top positions that, even though it seems like it's so easy, like, oh, we work at a store, like, I should be able to get this position, they made it so much harder for minorities, not even black, any. Well, so it's like, I'm curious as well to see what that would look like. Well, I think that it's deserved, but what does that look like? Are we going to put the full history back in the books? Can we start teaching people about what really happened, or no? Or are you just trying to pay us off so that we can kind of hush it and put it under the rug?
Well, I have a suggestion from the chat line for reparations, and they said that the light-skinned blacks would get half as much, and then the darker folk would get more money. I guess that would compensate you.
You see what I'm saying?
That would be the field. That would be, you get a little extra for being in the field.
Here we go.
Like, what? Oh, well, my great grandmother was light skinned. Oh, well, she was in the house, so you don't need that much. Like, come on, bruh.
See this?
Well, then you got to count on. You got to figure out who had how much. Who got Indian in them?
Right.
See, this is where we deploy our new technology, Thinbad, and it's called Slapchat. It's like, come here with that stupidity,
man. And I bet you, all those black people. I bet you all those black people who be lying, talking about, oh, I'm Cherokee. Oh, no, I'm not black. I'm mixed. Right. Oh, no, I was a Negro. I need my money.
That new technology, Slapchat. You know what I mean? Yeah, but you're right though. What will it look like? And that's that's a real bone of contention. How much? Where would you start? Because for example, the origins of slavery were not only in Africa but in some of the other countries too, and so where. So for example, the Smith family. So we can prove that your dad, your great grandfather, they got him in June versus October. Do you get more money? What do you get for it? But I'm at least glad that the conversation is being brought up in terms of correcting past wrongs, because
I don't.
Because